Justine with Blue Jay Orchids. Welcome to another episode of Orchid Wine Down Wednesday. I had this bottle open already, so we're just gonna drink some of this. This is a Kirkland sangria or a Costco sangria. It's pretty good. We normally get it if we're gonna have like a party or something, because, you know, we're so social. Anyway, the normal disclaimer, please drink responsibly. And with that, let's get right into what we're going to talk about today. So I thought it would be interesting to talk about the difference between a seedling and, I might say this a little wrong, but a Mericlone, and kind of compare and help you guys better understand the difference. And that goes into reading like the actual orchid tag, because the orchid tag can give you a lot of information on the orchid you're buying, even if it's not in flower. Alright, so let's start with seedlings. And seedlings is a little tricky because seedlings can mean different things in the orchid world. For example, a seedling can be a young plant. So for example, this is a seedling here. And it is the C Classic, which is the name of the orchid, and then it also has the cross. So this isn't a clone. This is a remake of a registered name, and it's the cerulean version, but it's not a clone. So when it's not a clone, it's going to have similar characteristics, but it's not going to be identical. And that goes into how they reproduce the orchids and how they start the orchids. So a seedling is going to be, okay, I crossed a Walkeriana cerulea with a Violacea cerulea. And it formed a seed pod. And then you're going to wait and wait and wait. And then when that seed pod is ripe, you're going to send it off to a lab. And they're going to flask it and grow little baby plants, because orchids they have a symbiotic relationship with fungi, and that is how most orchid seeds develop. So it's a pretty complex process. I haven't done tons of research on it, but it's fascinating to me. And going back to seedlings, a seedling is going to be like a sibling. So say you have a mommy and a daddy, they get together, their offspring is not going to be identical. It's going to take traits from the mother, and it's going to take traits from the father. So that is a seedling. A seedling is describing the size of a plant, but it's also just describing how the plant was grown to get to that point. So I hope that helps. Because I remember back when I got started, it was very confusing. It's like, oh, it's a seedling, it's a small plant, it's not ready to bloom. That's kind of what you automatically think. The easiest way to find out if your plant is a clone or a seedling is asking the grower. Most of the time they'll know. Or you can also do your own research. So that's an example of a seedling. And then this is a little confusing, this one. This was from my Crawl Smith purchase. So this is a clone that looks like it was cloned back to itself. And the reason I say that is because it's LC Mini Purple Cerulea H&R, so that's a clone. And then you see the X, and then self. So it was crossed back on itself. So I don't know if I'm not positive if that means it was crossed back on a sibling of a clone, or if it was actually crossed back to the actual same plant. For example, say the mother plant for the Mini Purple Cerulea H&R was crossed back onto that exact same plant. My guess is it would have been crossed back to a sibling of the clone, just to add genetic diversity. That would be my guess. But we can take a sec to admire this pretty flower. Very, very happy with how this opened up. Nice blue cerulean color and almost completely flat. I don't know if it's focusing, but there's the name one more time and the flower. Yeah, very, very happy with this. So a lot of times if you're dealing with a clone, you'll see that it's a named cultivar. So you see the name, and then that H&R means that this is the clone from H&R, or it's their cross. Trying to get the tag back in. So hopefully that gives you a understanding of seedlings. Now we're going to talk about Mericlones. So this is kind of an annoying name. RLC, Kayla Kabashi, but Palmer Orchids. So Palmer Orchids made this one and then named it after their nursery, which a lot of nurseries, if they either make a new cross or register a new cross, they'll name it after their nursery. That's a way to trace back where orchids come from. But this I know for certain is a Mericlone. And Mericlone means it's a different way that they, come on, there we go. It's a different way that they propagated the orchid. So most of the time, it's a direct clone of an awarded plant. So you take your orchid to judging, you get an AOS or another really high award in the orchid world. You will try to clone that orchid. Sometimes you'll make a seedling clone, but a lot of the time you'll put the extra money in and take a Mericlone, which means you actually take DNA from part of the plant, like a stem propagation or something, and then you put it into a lab, and through a lot of science, which I don't entirely understand yet, you create cloned offspring. So they will pretty much look identical to the plant that got awarded. There can be still some variation, like in flower size and plant health, but for the most part, if you want to know that you're getting a specific flower, you're going to want to buy a clone. And how the orchid world describes a clone is a Mericlone. So hopefully that makes some sense. So a lot of people, well, I don't know if a lot of people, it depends on the collector or the grower. Certain people are only going to want to get registered clones. They want to know what they're getting. Or they'll buy something in bloom. If you buy something in bloom, you're going to know exactly what the flower's like. I bought this one in bud, but I wagered based off of the tag that it was going to look something like this. And I was right, but it was a little bit of a gamble. But I do know that this cross has a tendency to be very purple and have good flower shape. And that's stuff you just learn the more you grow orchids. I personally, budget-wise and the excitement-wise, I like to buy seedlings. So, I mean, that's why I have this here. Because you don't know how this is going to bloom. It's a little bit of an adventure. It could be pink, it could be cerulean, it could be horrible shaped flower, it could be the most amazing flower you've ever seen. But that's the fun in it for me, and it's also a lot more budget friendly. This is a primary hybrid between two pretty expensive species, and it was reasonably priced. Now this plant, like that size there, would be a lot more expensive. So if you have the ability and the patience, budget-wise, it makes sense to get a smaller plant and grow it out. But if you want the instant gratification, or you have a bigger budget, or you're low on space and want to get the plant you know you're going to like, then you get something either blooming or you get something you're going to know what it is. Just kind of my personal opinion on the topic. But yeah, there's so much that goes into an orchid tag. And as much as possible, you don't want to lose that tag, because once you lose that tag, unless it's something that everyone knows, like a Cattleya why not, or the coconut orchid like Maxillaria tenafolia, or other species that don't have a bunch of lookalikes, you might never get the ID again. And once you don't have the ID on the orchid, depending on what you're growing it for, the value goes down drastically, because a lot of the collectors want to have that name. So this was just kind of a quick little run through of the difference between Seedling and Mericlone. Hopefully you guys found this helpful. Please like and subscribe, leave comments. You guys know the drill. And there's something else I wanted to talk about. I do have a couple videos planned that I think are going to be pretty fun. I remember the other thing. So there is going to be a show this weekend. I'm not going to that show, but I'll post the information. And there is going to be another show first weekend of February. I will be going to that show. That's the Venice Orchid Society. So I'm not sure what day I'm going to go yet, but definitely going to that show. And then I do have a special announcement. And I guess I can go right into the special announcements. Well, there's like 2 special announcements. So first special announcement, I am now up to like 500 and something, so that is awesome. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate all your feedback, all the love, all the like positive vibes and support. And I really want to do a giveaway. I'm just haven't decided like what number I want to do the giveaway at. I definitely want to do a giveaway at 1,000. I'm thinking I might also do a giveaway at 800. So we'll see. And that leads me into my next segment. So I'm going to move the camera back just a little bit. So I have started designing some of my own shirts. So I've always been like an artsy person. And I have noticed like I like wearing plant shirts. And being a little bit of a bigger person, sometimes it's hard to find good plant shirts that are going to look good on me. So I've made a few designs. I have a little pop-up shop. So I'll post all that information, like with some photos of some of my newer designs and the link. And no pressure. I mean, it's just wanted to put it out there in case anyone else is looking for cool orchid shirts or orchid-like merch. But it's not that much of a plug. Like, I don't expect everyone to go and buy my shirts. I like making them, and I thought I would share them. So, feel free to check those out. And I think that pretty much wraps it up. So, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for all the love. And as always, keep growing. Bye.